Welcome back to Structured Product Management Thinking. I'm your host, Kurt Van Etten, and this module we're going to be talking about monitoring your product post-launch and post-GA. This is often neglected. People tend to get really busy. They get the product out, they get it GA, there's something next in the hopper, and they turn their attention to that. And so we want to take some time and introduce some best practices, how you can keep that front of mind. So when you're monitoring the product, you want to do it two ways. You definitely want to do it quantitatively. You want to leverage your telemetry that you put in your product and create your dashboards, but you also want to do it qualitatively. So let's talk about those two particular aspects. So quantitatively, make sure we're going back, looking at our business case, and we agreed on what our KPIs were. And we should have that North Star metric in mind. And that is the overall business objective. And it probably was the key result when you did your OKRs. And if you're not sure what it is, a good framework to use is the Pirate Metric Framework. Often the abbreviation is R, which gives you the name Pirate Metric Framework. But was the purpose of your project increase acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, or referral? It's usually one of those. And if it is, you're in a good position and you should make sure that was part of your OKRs. And if not, you should consider modifying them. So if we take a look at some North Star metrics, it is going to depend on the nature of your business. So for example, if your business is a platform or you're running a hotel or you're running a platform like Airbnb where people are allowed to rent their rooms out, nights booked is probably a good North Star metric. For e-commerce, it might be transaction completed or your total payment volume. If you're a YouTube content creator, then maybe your North Star metric is the number of views per week. But tracking that metric alone is insufficient because it may take time for that metric to develop. By the time your feature is GA, it starts to become adopted and actually see any movement in those key results. So you want to select a number of leading indicators. So how do you do that? Well, first, the leading indicator needs to be correlated with your North Star metric. There should be a strong relationship between that indicator and the North Star metric. It should be actionable. So if you start to see that these leading indicators are not particularly movement, you need to be confident that you can do something about it, that there are features or there are adjustments you can make or changes to service or support or product marketing that could influence that leading indicator. You want to make sure it's timely, that it's something that is a little more subject to volatility, and so you can start to see that movement earlier than you can in a North Star metric. And it's specific to a user behavior, that this thing is actually being caused by some behavior of the user, whether it's going up or going down. So what would be some examples of leading indicators? So we'll go back to our examples of the rental platform, and your North Star metric is the number of nights you're booking. Well, you may want to look at things like, what are the monthly average users on the platform? What's my inventory? What are the number of room listings that are on the platform? If you're an e-commerce site, maybe you're just looking how many transactions are being completed. So some leading indicators for that might be things like page views per customer or the number of returning customers. And if you're a YouTube content creator and your North Star metric is the number of views per week, you may want to look at, hey, what are the number of likes and the number of subscriptions that are happening? So to track these quantitative metrics, you want to create a dashboard. And you want to limit the number of metrics that you put on this particular dashboard. I've seen product dashboards that have 12 up panels. That's probably a little bit too much information for a human to absorb. You really want to focus on your North Star metric and those leading indicators. Do you want to drill down to gain more insights? Absolutely. And you need to think about that when you're making this request for the data that you want. And so go back to your customer segmentation and think about ways that you might want to drill down. Maybe it's geographically. You want to separate and see if there's a difference in performance from the European market than there is in the Latin America market. Go with a different segmentation. Maybe you want to do your segmentation by new users or power users. However you did your segmentation, take a look at that and see if that's something that you want to reflect in your dashboard. Now, we do live in a big data world, and there's a lot of data out there, but presenting that data is not often easy. And this is really where you need to talk to your business analyst. It may be very difficult to create some of these dashboards. I've had things that seem very simple on the surface, and the business analysts come back and say, well, that's going to be difficult. We need to do an ETL. There's going to be a number of joins that has to be done, and it gets very complicated. You want to be a good customer for them and put some thought into your request. And it's really best practice to first start with, just give me the data, let me throw in a spreadsheet, and let me play with it for a while. And as you start playing with it, you're going to get more ideas, and then go back and ask them to actually implement it. The next important thing about this creating the dashboard is set a cadence to review this dashboard. You should create a cadence for yourself, but also create a cadence with your manager. Often I've seen people create cadence during their one-on-ones. It'll be the first thing they bring up at the agenda, or they decide to do it every other week. They review the metrics, or the team will do a review every month or every quarter. But it is really important to set that cadence and get the discipline of going back and looking at your metrics and make sure they don't get forgotten about. Okay, qualitative assessment is also really important. And again, this is something that I've seen done ad hoc at best. It's usually never structured. It's generally never baked into the plan. So you want to engage with your internal stakeholders. Once that product's been out, you want to talk to customer success and give them a call. Hey, what's the feedback on this feature? Customer support, how many tickets are being related to this feature? What are they saying when they're making these calls, or what are they writing in these tickets? And then, of course, talking to sales. Are you positioning this in your sales pitch? If you are, how are you doing it? What messaging is resonating? Which messaging is not? These are all important questions to ask. Then you want to actually go back and interview your customers. An easy one is to just go back to the design partners and say, hey, how is it working for you? Is this what you wanted? Did we solve your problem? What else can we do better? And talk to other customers as well. And then consider doing a survey. I think surveys are really important. I think something that's really important for product managers to know is, what is the awareness of this product or feature? It's very, very common that product managers and the teams, they spend a lot of sweat equity building these products, building these features, and it's so frustrating when you find out 4 months into it that no one's really aware of this feature. They didn't know it exists. And so you want to confirm that. You want to do surveys, see if they're aware of the feature, see if they understand the value proposition, and see if they're actually using the feature. And then why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because we want to make decisions. Do we want to pivot or persevere? Is there something that we want to change about this product? Or it looks like this is a winner and we want to continue to persevere and continue to invest in this product. And so you have to ask yourself some pretty basic questions when you're looking at this data. Do we have market fit? Do the customers see the value? The KPIs moving? Because you need to have an opinion about what are we going to do with this product going forward in the future, and put that information back into another business case, right? And back into your product backlog and continue the process. So the best practices here, start with your North Star metric. Make sure it's tied to your OKRs and your key results. Create the leading indicators for your North Star metrics and your KPIs, and use that to create a dashboard. And then make sure that that dashboard is reviewed regularly and you have a cadence around it. And you monitor your product feature, not just quantitatively, but also qualitatively as well. Anti-patterns, just getting it out the door and moving on to the next thing. There's no dashboard, there's no review cadence, or the opposite is you get carried away with all this data that you have and you create way too many metrics and it's not focused, and you end up creating more confusion than what it's worth. So those are some important things to think about when you're monitoring the project. Again, it's very easy to get sucked into, hey, we got this next thing that we're working on, and spending 95% of your time on that. Really reserve the time on your calendar to go back and look at those metrics regularly to do that. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe, provide feedback. All feedback is a gift. Happy to take requests for other videos to be made, and continue our journey about helping people enhance their skills and advance their careers.